Hi and welcome to Time with Natalie, the show that helps you to maximise your time and balance your life. Now joining me on today's show is Paul Carrick Brunson, who's fondly known as the modern day matchmaker. He's also the author of It's Complicated, but It Doesn't Have to Be, and he's been featured on OWN, BBC, CNN, to name but a few. Hi, Paul.
How are you?
I'm good, and how are you?
I'd say I'm blessed to be here.
Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Now, can you share a little bit of your story about how you ended up becoming a matchmaker?
It's a long story, but I guess the short of it is I never thought I would be a matchmaker, right? Who, as a little boy says, I want to be a matchmaker, I was formerly in investment banking and I was in finance for quite a long time. And when I was in finance, I also had a nonprofit organization, and we provided test preparation services for low-income youth. And it was through doing that I saw that none of my kids in that nonprofit had two parents in the household. Oh, wow. Not one. Wow. And it blew me away. And so my wife and I started coming up with ideas, and this was one of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what's one of the issues that you find that a lot of people struggle with when it comes to relationships? What's kind of like, is there a main key issue that you find that is a problem?
Sure. All around the world, any ethnicity, both genders, I believe suffers from a huge deficit of one thing.
What's that?
That's hope.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We just don't, unfortunately, we just don't feel like there's enough hope in the possibility of love, or hope in the possibility of marriage, or hope in the possibility of just finding someone that's worthy of our time. And that's probably the number one thing that we battle.
Yeah, and I think that when you lose that, you pretty much lose everything, don't you? When there is no hope, then you've lost, everything that there really is.
You know what's sad is that without hope, you're actually dead.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been reading through your fantastic book, and if you haven't bought it, then
I see it's marked up. You've been reading that thing. Yeah,
I'm ready. I've got some notes in here for you. But can you share with us just what makes a successful relationship in your view?
Sure, communication.
Yeah.
Hands down, like without a doubt. And I know we often hear that, but without communication, you don't have a relationship. Right? You have an agreement, right? But you don't have a real relationship. So you really need to have that. Then there's some other elements, like you want to have matching values. I talk about that a lot. I have a whole chapter, chapter 4 in the book is, so values is very important. You want to look for other things like complementary personality, right? Okay. So you don't want to have the same personality, but you want to have a complementary personality, because that helps us communicate.
Okay.
Right. So there are many things like that, but number one is strong communication.
Okay. So I'm going to touch on what you've just said, because I did make a note from your book about something, about something that specifically. Now I'm asking this because I need.
Oh, I see it underlined in here, highlighted,
underlining, and all sorts going on in here. And there's a point in here where you talk about a couple where you say that one of them was the engine and the other was the starter, and they kept each other going.
Right.
And what's interesting for me in the relationship that I'm in is I find that I'm very different to my partner, and sometimes I find that really difficult, in that I would say I'm the starter, I'm the visionary, I'm the entrepreneur, and I'm the risk taker, and I'm the one that wants to go out there and save the world and change the world. But he's the left brain, and he's the logical thinker, and he's analytical.
Okay.
And it frustrates, if I'm honest, it frustrates me.
Sure.
I'm like, oh my gosh, he needs a bit of fire to
right.
Some push. Analyze everything. So how does somebody like me and anybody else that's watching that has a similar kind of issue, how do we manage that? Because people say, well, we should compliment each other, but I get frustrated
with the compliment. You want the same, right? You want the same.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. The first thing that you did was very astute. You identified your personality type, which would be categorized as a promoter, according to Carl Jung, right? Okay. He said that there's 4 main personality types we have. We're either a promoter, a supporter, a controller, or an analyst. We all fit within one of those. So you're a promoter, right? Very much a promoter. What's interesting is I'm a promoter. Now, your boyfriend sounds like he's very much an analyst, very analytical, very, right. It's all either right or wrong, no gray. Now, he's clearly an analyst. What that truly means is that you're actually both complementary. And the reason why you're both complementary is, imagine if he was in a relationship with another analyst and they got into a disagreement, right? Yeah. It would be crazy. Now, the key that could be missing, and I don't want to put this out there, but I hope, I don't know if he's watching this either, is you mentioned fire. Fire typically connects with ambition. Ambition is not a personality type, but a value. And so the real question is, when you get beyond personality type, do you and your boyfriend have the same values? Because here's what's happening, is your values are your rules to life, right? So it's like Natalie's rule book to life, right? Value, ambition is number one, let's say. That means that you live by ambition, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing, right? If he doesn't live by that same exact value, that means that you're always, for the rest of your life, going to have a conflict when it comes to that. So I think the deeper question is to examine your values and his values and see if those align or not.
Okay. And what if you find because that's, again, an interesting point with my own situation where, let's say, one person is a believer and one's not a believer in their faith and their values and their beliefs and things.
Absolutely.
How do you try and figure that out? Because if all other areas work well, then there's just that one area, but it's a big area.
Sure.
For me, the biggest. How do you even start to figure that out?
You don't. I'm not doing a good job in keeping hope alive, am I? But here's the thing, right? The biggest myth about relationships, in my opinion, is that a relationship is about compromise. I say absolutely no. You don't compromise on the big things. So are we going to eat Jamaican food tonight or not? Okay, we can compromise on that. Are we going to go see the movie tonight or not? We can compromise on that. But when it comes to a value, like your belief, like your faith, like your religion, like your value of ambition, you can never compromise on that. You can never, because that is innately you. And if you compromise on that, that is the definition of settling. And when you settle, you always end up disappointed.
Yeah, so true. And I'm sitting here thinking inside, it's so true.
I could see it. Like
I'm kind of getting low.
Yeah, I know. You are dropping. Right, the tone of your voice changed a lot.
I've got some work to do.
But see, this is why relationships are also about courage. We have to be amazingly courageous. And oftentimes we have someone in our life that's like 80% great, and there's like the 20% that's not. But the key is, what is the 20%? Is it that, it's considered to be a non-starter or a deal or what's called a preference, which is something that's not critical? Or is that 20% critical, like values? And if so, that's something that we really have to address now. And when I say address, is typically that means, you have to give each other distance.
Yeah, okay. A lot of relationships are now being formed online because of social media and technology and everything. How can we move that back to the original offline of actually face-to-face and meeting real people as opposed to people online?
You're not going to like my answer on this one either, but we can't. That ship has sailed. And here's the thing about online quote-unquote dating, right? It's a misnomer because we typically don't date online. What we do is we get introduced online, and that's completely fine. The key is to get the introduction and then to move offline quickly and then start your dating.
Okay. Because I've had an experience where, before I'm with my current partner, where, I spoke to a few people online, but you kind of got the sense of, are they really who they say they are?
No.
I'm not so sure. Is that picture really
Is that really it?
Yeah, it's not really them. So how important is, because you also talk in the book again about instinct and following your gut instinct. So when you kind of, get that sense of, hang on a second, something's not right. Yeah. What do you do?
Well, now here's some more disappointing news. I'm just like the hope killer in this interview. This is terrible.
But this is good though. This is really good.
51%. Now get ready for this. 51% of all people on online dating sites are currently in a relationship. Right? 30% of all online dating, profiles are scammers. Right? Anywhere from 50 to 60% are looking for just quick hookups, casual sex. So you think about all that, it seems really disappointing, right? It seems kind of like, ugh, I don't want to try that. But here's the flip side. The flip side is that right now, 1 out of every 5 marriages comes from online. The flip side is that online is the fastest, quickest, most efficient way to meet significant others or just to meet friends. And so it's a necessary evil if you think of it that way. But if you're using it right, if you're strategically using it, you can help to weed out the bad eggs from the good eggs.
Okay. And so you're here in London at the moment.
Yes. One of my favorite cities.
Yeah. When the weather's good, it's one of my favorite cities.
Yeah, when is that? Like 2 days out of the year?
No, this year it's been really good. So you're here doing a number of workshops. So could you just give us a little bit of information about what you'll be covering and why people should attend?
Sure. So the big workshop that we're doing is really on love. And I don't just kind of say that flippantly, like it's about love. And so we're going to be examining what is self-love, the difference between self-love and self-esteem. We're going to be talking about vulnerability. We're going to be talking about how do you meet more people, including how do you meet more men to date, right? But also how do you meet more people? How do you know when you meet someone if they're the right person? Right? And then we're going to be talking about all the latest data, all the latest trends. What are the dating apps that you should use? What are the dating apps or websites that you shouldn't use? Effective ways to flirt. Like we're going to really get detailed. This is going to be an all-inclusive workshop, and I've done this all over the world, and it has a 100% satisfaction rate. I mean, people love the workshop, and I love doing it.
Yeah, and you are a master at it. I've been following you for a while now, and
I appreciate it.
Yeah, you are fantastic at it. So this
I appreciate
is the expert. So if you're going to follow anybody on relationships, then you need to follow Paul. He is phenomenal, fantastic.
Thank you.
So we'll make sure we put the details up about the workshops and when they are and where they are and everything. But alongside that, where can people find more information about you in general? What's your details?
I'm really hard to get a hold of.
Right.
At Paul C. Brunson. So literally, that's on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. That's paulcbrunson.com. Like Paul C. Brunson in Google search, and you will find me.
Okay, because you also share some really great information aside from relationships as well, where I remember reading an article of yours about, I think it was 20 tips that you can learn from some of the top billionaires.
Yes, yes.
Which I found really, really fascinating. So make sure you sign up and follow Paul, because there's also lots of great information beyond relationships as well, which, will really help you. So make sure you follow him.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
welcome.
that.
And thank you so much for joining me on today's show.
My pleasure. And I want to say this, is that I hope your boyfriend doesn't come track me down after this. I feel like he's going to track me down now after this.
He won't.
So what is that guy talking about?
Yeah. No, he won't. No,
Okay.
I appreciate for you, you giving me my little counselling session.
Okay, that's fair.
But no, I hope it's helped the audience, and thank you so much for joining.
All right, so my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.